relevant things that should be put in place, the reforms that should be put in place. But we need to know the basis first. So that is why we have research, not to just cook up data or just give fake analysis. So we will know whether the research was thoughtful, whether the research was reflected the realities as well. On that note, I would like you to join me kindly, please, by a round of applause to welcome Professor Lukman to give a welcoming remark to this very important occasion. Prof, you're welcome.
My name is Lukman Saka. I have been within the CSO fraternity and as well as teacher at the University of the Gambia. I've seen students, I've seen friends, I've seen daughters, I've seen sons and brothers. I've seen mothers as well, and as well as those who have the capacity to be my father. The Center for Research and Policy Development, with funding from the National Democratic Institute of the United States, conducted an opinion poll on political and social, on socio-political issues and processes in the Gambia. More specifically, the survey paid particular attention to issues of women participation in politics, to youth participation in politics, and asked critical questions, asking people to give their opinion or perception, especially on the issues of a new constitution, on the issue of whether people are going to vote for a female candidate. Should a female candidate be presented by any political party? We did not specify whatever position as far as as the presidential position, and people give responses that merge their view and perception. It's an opinion survey. We also did a key informant interview in which we are not just asking people yes or no, true or false, did you agree or you did not agree. We use the KII to ask probing questions such that we will be able to merge what people give in opinion survey. We will be able to probe their mind to see whether what they give us yes or no actually tally with what is in their mind, to corroborate and have a report that speaks to the socio-political reality of our environment. And as well as we did a desk review. So it's like a three-in-one report, a desk review, a KII, and as well as an opinion poll survey on socio-political issue and processes in the Gambia, paying particular attention to the issue of women and youth participation in politics, the political processes, peace process, peace building, party structures and governance, the role of the media, the right to freedom of expression and association, among important issues that guide, that serves as the that serves as issues that define the democratic culture of society. And so the report we will be presenting today to you is a accumulation. It draw from those field engagements that we did across the nation, not just in the Combo, but across the country. And so to this end, we at the Center for Research and Policy Development sincerely thank you for being here with us today, even though it is on short notice. The turnout is impressive, and we are very appreciative of that. And we hope that in the deliberation that will follow after the presentation of the report, we will be able to speak to some of the issues that the studies deals with. To this end, I welcome you to this gathering, and I hope we will have a fruitful deliberation that will move the course of our democratic transition forward. Thank you very much. We are very grateful.
Thank you very much.
My name is Ansumana Size. I am the Senior Program Assistant at NDI. We are really glad and excited to partner with CRPD on this survey journey, or on this research journey, this academic research. At NDI, basically our objective for this survey is to understand the current political roles of women and young people and their social, cultural, political, and economic barriers to their political participation, inclusion of women and young people in decision-making processes, and opportunities for increased space for women and young people to meaningfully participate in politics. Basically, we at NDI, we started a new program that focused on the political parties, basically how to improve the participation and inclusion of young people and women in political parties. Because we have a myth or a general saying among Gambians that young people are not ready to lead, or young people or women are not also ready to assume leadership roles in political parties. So we wanted to understand the perspective of Gambians. Why do they think that young people and women in general are not ready to take leadership role, so that we can tailor our programs, our upcoming programs, in order to boost or improve those numbers. So basically, that is the reason for this research. And as Prof rightly said, we also did not just want to stop at the opinion poll. We want to conduct KRIs and also DEX research to bolster these findings from the polls. So basically, that is the intention of the research, and we are really glad to witness this day, because it has long been coming, because this have started since I think early this year with CRPD. I think Mariama will be relieved now, because she has been crisscrossing our office for quite a while now, and we are really grateful, Mariama, to the CRPD team, Biran and Prof, and to the main man said, we really appreciate operation during this period, and we are grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Interviews were carried out by the Center for Research and Policy Development, and like I said initially, the survey was done in July of this year, and we had a sample size of 1,200 Gambian adults, and this would yield country-level results with margins of sampling error of plus or minus 3% points at a 95% confidence interval. People who are an expert in sampling will understand what I am talking about. So the first topic of discussion would be the current state of affairs in the Gambia. And the key findings under this topic were analyzed by demographics. So we have the age groups, we have by residence, which is urban and rural, and then we have by male, female. So the age group with the highest proportion of citizens expressing great or very great satisfaction with country's direction was among the age cohort of 46 to 60 years, with a percentage point of 14%. You can see how low that is, that these are the only people who said that they have a very great or great satisfaction with the direction of the country. And citizens, that is 51%, who reported being to a small or some extent satisfied with the country's direction, live in the rural areas. So it means also who are here, we are not satisfied under the current state of affairs in the Gambia, which is satisfaction with public utilities. And as you can see, the fourth part, which talks about the low satisfaction rate that citizens have with public utilities, are services, which are ID cards, birth certificates, etc. 35%, and healthcare have the lowest satisfaction ratings of public utility satisfaction. I think everyone in this room will agree with me on this, yeah? If you go for your passport, ID card, currently ID card, what are they giving? Receipts. There are no cards. So people are saying, and this is in line with what we have on the ground, that these are the least services or public services that they are satisfied with. While radio station services, 58%, and telecommunication services, 53%, have highest levels of citizen satisfaction among public utilities. So I will quickly just browse through. So each of the key findings that were given, there's a graph that depicts it. So I'll just quickly browse through the graphs, because those are what I've already explained, so that we will not waste much time, and then we'll move to the other topics. So this is the graph that gives the country's direction. you can see the figures of what I presented earlier, which is the 51 in rural areas, and then for the people who say not at all, you can see the ranges. And then we have the one that talks about the country's economy. Like I mentioned, the ranges from 73 to 78, you can see those were the people who say they are very dissatisfied or satisfied, and this cuts across all the demographics. And then also the family income coverage of basic needs. As well as, last but not the least, the public service utilities satisfaction. Then we move on to the next topic, which is political developments in the country. So for the voter turnout, we have 80% of citizens voted in the last election. As MS rightly said, we have more females, that is 81% than male, who participated or who voted in the last election. So if we have more women voting, why is it that when it comes to decision making, we are not brought to the table? Then reasons for not voting. 42% said that they were unable to register. 25% cited other reasons, and these reasons include, some of them said they were not in the country, that they were abroad, while some said that they lost their voter's card. And when we asked citizens if they thought the last election was well organized, most citizens believe that the last election was well or very well organized, especially those with the highest proportion were reported by citizens over 60 years, which is 63%. So the older people felt that the last election was well organized. And then constitutional reform, which is like a hot topic now. 71% agreed that the Gambia needs a new constitution, while only 16% were against it. So again, just like the first topic, I'll just browse through the graphs quickly. So you can see that we have the national average, and then we have it also analyzed by male, female, and this is for citizens who voted in the last election. Then we also have the main reasons why they did not vote in the last election as presented under the main findings. And then also the perception of citizens on how well the last elections were organized. So you can see that the age cohort of 18 to 25 were not very impressed. There's only 41% who said that it was well organized, as opposed to 63% of those aged 60 years and above. And then citizens' opinion about the performance of the Gambian legislature. If we focus on the top part, that's this one, which is the national average, you can see that only 2% are saying that it is excellent, while we have 36 and 35% saying it's either bad or not so good. So it's like we're not doing well in this area at all. Maybe there is more sensitization needed. And then we have citizens' opinion on discussions and efforts to bring back the draft constitution. And you can, if you also focus on the top part, you can see that we have 12% say that they have limited knowledge, 4% say that they are aware of the current efforts, while 38% said they were not aware. So it's like government went ahead with whatever they were doing and did not bring people into the platform for them to have a say. And then citizens who think the Gambia needs a new constitution, as presented under the main findings, again, you can see the 71, 16 said no, 12 said they don't have an opinion. Not that they don't know, they just don't have an opinion. For example, I don't want to give my opinion, while only 2% said that they don't know. And then we'll move to the other topic, which is the main focus of the study, that is women and youth participation in politics. So under the key findings, we have the reason for women not being elected in National Assembly, which states that more than half of the citizens, that is 58%, disagree that. So the text that I have in quotation, these are the reasons that were cited, or one of the reasons that were cited. And citizens are saying that they disagree with the reason that women do not make good leaders as men, that it's not a reason for women to not be voted in National Assembly. And then male influence in politics, we see that 41% of citizens believe that women in politics are held back by men. And this is identified as a major, major problem for women in politics. Whilst for youth, if you look at the graphs that will come after these main findings, you will see that they have the exact same narrative as women. That is, they say that they are not good leaders and that their seniors hold them back when it comes to taking positions in political affairs. And then willingness to vote for women and young candidates. There is an overwhelming good support, 51% that say that they would vote for a young candidate. And women show, of course, more support, 88% than men, 73%. Whilst, again, the same narrative is seen for the young candidates, that there is a higher percentage of people that say that they will vote for a young candidate. And also a substantial proportion of citizens, 84%, support the introduction of a quota system to ensure more women are elected into National Assembly. And then we have also key findings under the interest of leadership for women and youth. And most citizens agree that both women, 65%, and youth, 64%, are interested in taking up leadership roles. Of course we are interested, but do we have the platform? Is the platform created for us? I think that's the question we need to ask. And then perceptions of corruption in gender. More women, 77%, than men, 65%, believe that women are less corrupt than men. Of course, our male counterparts disagree with this. And among those who disagree with the statement that women are less corrupt than men, more men, 21%, than women, 16%, hold this view.
So men are more corrupt.
But guy, so they're saying we're bringing you. No, you are as corrupt as we are. Ladies, do we agree with that? No. No.
That's a headline, huh? Gambian men are more corrupt, huh? It's a headline.
And then we look at the graph separately. That is the perception on why there are not more women being elected in National Assembly. And as you see, the main one, which is not a reason for people, is that women do not make good leaders. So women, it's like we are trusted, that we are good leaders. So this is not a reason for us not to be elected into National Assembly. And the one that's a major reason is that we are held back by men. Gori, randulen wa ñu romba. Yeah? Okay. And then we have the graph on citizens' perception on whether to vote for a woman candidate in the next election. And like I said, if you look at the national average before the breakdown of male and female, you will see that 81% say that they will vote. And this is more dominant among women than men, which is obvious. And citizens' perception on a quota system, yes, 84% agree, and this was not analyzed by gender because we wanted to show that majority of Gambians are saying, yes, we think that a quota system should be introduced for the election of women into the National Assembly. And then whether women are less corrupt than men, we can see that, yes, they are saying that no, women are less corrupt than men, and then we've got the other part, which is the reverse of men, more men, 21% saying that we are as corrupt as they are. And then citizens' perception on whether women are interested in leadership positions, of course we are. And this is the breakdown from the main findings. And then citizens' perception on why youths are not elected in National Assembly. So if you look at the trend, which of what I was saying when I say like a similar trend is observed for both the youth and women, you can see that for not a reason also that they're saying they don't make good leaders, which is the highest. And then a major reason is that, they are held back by their seniors, whilst a minor reason would be that they face discrimination. And then you have citizens' perception on whether they would vote for a young candidate, which is in line with also what we saw for women. And citizens' perception on whether youth are interested in leadership positions, again, also it's the same. You have more saying yes, of course, and less saying no. And then finally, we go to the last topic, which is transparency and sources of information. So under this, we have the key findings of slightly above half, which is 52% of citizens reported to not being satisfied with how government communicates with the public. While 27% say it could be improved, only 15% of respondents say they are satisfied with the way government communicates with the public. And majority of citizens trust the information from government to a small or some extent. However, 25% do not trust it at all, while 16% trust it to a very or great extent. And the primary sources of information for citizens living in the rural areas are social media and the radio, while those living in the urban areas get their information from social media and the TV. And then 55% of respondents reported that they trust some of the information from the media. 22 said they trust all the information, but 19% do not trust it at all. And then you have the breakdown or by graphs.
That's for media that you have to take note of. So 19%. Why?
Yeah. So again, here, if you look at the citizens' satisfaction with how government, so you focus on the, look at also the difference between male and female, but I'll focus on the national average. So you're seeing a total of 52% saying they are not satisfied, while 27 are saying it could be improved. And then the trust in information coming from government. Also, if you look at the national average, you can see that 57% are saying they trust it to a small and some extent, while 25 are saying they don't trust it at all. And only 60% trust it to a very or great extent. And again, the primary source of information, this was just analyzed by rural urban. You can see that for the rural people, they've got radio and social media, and urban also is social media and TV. And citizens trust on information from media. 55% say that they trust some of the information, some. And 22 say they trust all of the information, while 19 say they do not trust any of the information. So a quick conclusion on some of the main points that have been presented on each of the topics. A lot of citizens are not satisfied with neither the country's economic situation nor their own. There is also a lot of work to be done in the area of healthcare services and other services, such as the issuance of ID cards, birth certificate, etc. This is to improve satisfaction of citizens on public services. There is also a lot of room for improvement with regard to the country's legislature. Citizens are not opposed to the idea of a female or young candidate. Women and youth should be encouraged to take up leadership positions in politics because they are indeed interested to take up the mantle. Citizens also agree that a quota system should be introduced for the election of women into the National Assembly. And last but not the least, citizens have shown an overwhelming interest in the Gambia having a new constitution. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
I'm going to continue from where Mariama stopped, but also to say that the study we did basically was, we did basically 3 studies, and this was the second one, and then the third one was a desk research. The first was to ask the citizens generally what they think about all these different issues, and then secondly, we also interviewed members of political, youth members of political parties also to look at what they also think about some of the issues, that we asked also the citizens in general. What we wanted to do was to show what citizens are saying, what citizens think, but also what political actors themselves think about some of these issues that and citizens are also showing. But to show basically their perspectives, that these youth actors also their perspectives. So we did mostly, for this study is mostly qualitative in the sense that we wanted to understand the realities based on the information that will be provided by the various actors. So as you can see, well, we'll be presenting, you'll be reflecting on what Mariam has already presented so that you can also make the connection, but that's why also we wanted to see how, the youth reps from political parties can also react to some of those, to some of the findings. So as you can see, this report is titled Pathways to Empowerment because we don't only look at the barriers, but also the opportunities that presented. And these are things that are coming from them. And so we say political actors' perspectives on women, youth representation in politics, in Gambian politics. So I have given also the overview and all those things. And so therefore, I just want to get straight to the issues, but to show that these were our objectives. We only had 4 objectives when we were doing this qualitative. One, that was to identify barriers, that is uncover the cultural, economic, and organizational challenges that limits women and youth engagement in political leadership and decision-making roles within the Gambia. We know from the public opinion that a lot of people say that women and youth have access and all those different stuff, but is this the reality within political parties, within the very young people that are participating in that? So we also explore supportive mechanisms, examine existing initiatives, because also political parties might have existing initiatives to look at the gaps that exist and how they try to address that. And also we provide policy recommendations, also issues of gender equality, etc. So as you can see, the report basically employs a qualitative research methodology. And I think in total we interviewed about 22 people from across the political divide. But this is also, we are very careful to say that this is not something that we can generalize in a sense, but these are issues that we can elicit useful information that could help in terms of that. And we use thematic analysis basically to look at what everyone is saying, and then we group it in terms of that. So in terms of the key findings, we will look at perceptions of inclusion of women and youth in government. And then we saw that across the political spectrum, the perception is that women and youth remain underrepresented in both party leadership and national governance. You know, these are what we are saying, and that despite women comprising more than 57% of the voting age, if you go to the National Assembly, I think only 3 women, if I'm not mistaken, that were elected, and you know, 2 nominated, and all that. And so these are things that basically the participants highlighted. And if you look at the quote here, women and youth participating in Gambian politics is slowly improving, but there are still significant challenges. Although more young people are getting involved, especially with encouragement from youth wings in parties like ours, women face more barriers. There is still a strong societal perception that politics is not for women, which limits their participation. So with the perception survey, we just asked what you think, basic things, but here we are also trying to understand the reasons why those challenges exist. So we also look at youth engagement versus women. A recurring theme was the observation that youth participation, especially in party campaigns and activism, is increasing more rapidly than women's representation as well. And I think this is also due to the presence of youth wings within political parties, not only gaining momentum, but we also saw what participants are saying, that the participation of women and youth in Gambian politics is crucial for our democratic development. While there has been progress, we still face significant challenges. So those are things that we try to highlight. So even as you can see from the quantitative survey, we saw that there's a huge majority of Gambians that want the quota system, the affirmative action to be in place. And that's what the citizens think. And this also is in line with also what these youth political actors are also saying, that the lack of formal quota system in the Gambia has contributed to the limited representation of women in national governance and party leadership positions. So key informants noted that unlike other African countries where this particular quota system has been instituted in Gambia, it is not. And so they are also in for it so that we can have that. So within this context, you can see that citizens' perception and political actors' perspective also do align. And the last quote, as you can see, it is important to consider the current legal frameworks that emphasize selection rather than election. If affirmative action or quota system were proposed, it will likely face pushback due to the entrenched traditional power dynamics. However, I believe progressive reforms are necessary for inclusivity. So people believe in the need for that, despite knowing that it might potentially have some pushback. So what are the barriers to women and youth representation in governance and political parties? One, family and societal pressure, given the cultural context. Cultural norms in the Gambia often assign women to domestic roles, which can discourage them from participating in public and political life. There's also the belief many women who pursue leadership roles encounter resistance from family members. Members first, and their communities who view political involvement as incompatible with traditional gender roles. And based on the conversation, we saw that it is mostly the family members that try to protect these young people and women in particular from participating. Because for me, it seems like the belief is that, somebody's calling. People don't know when to call. Yeah, I don't know how to deal with this because I don't have anyways.
Should I bring the mouse?
No, I think if I pick it here, it will go. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. So family is the primary pressure point for women in particular. In the sense that for the family is seen like they are protecting their family member from being exposed to all the insults that we talk about. In terms of the nature of our politics, but these are also seen as very critical barrier in terms of that. And the view is that it's not only about the traditional gender roles, but it's also about protection. It's about the fear that they'll be insulted, but also the family might be also exposed to some of the reality. And so the interviews reveal that the societal expectation for women to focus on family and household responsibilities restrict their capacity to engage in political activities. The other issue is the economic barriers, economic challenges, and then we saw that economic barriers represent a substantial impediment to political participation because our politics is costly, require money, and all these young people are broke like myself, and so getting involved in politics require that money for campaign, for all those different stuff, and young people raise this as a very critical issue that needs to be looked at. As you can see from the code, campaign requires financial backing, and many young people and women lack the resources which limit their ability to participate effectively. So selection bias and gender discrimination was also highlighted, and I remember in 2013 when we did a study with Dr. Satang Naubane, one of the findings was that, she was the lead researcher, she titled the study One Step Forward, Two Step Backward, and there we were looking at women representation, and some of these issues also that came up in 2013 when we were doing the study also is coming up, like the issue of selection bias. That another, in the sense that another barrier highlighted in the interview is the lack of gender parity in candidate selection process. Political parties in the Gambia tend to favor male candidates over equally qualified female candidates, often prioritizing men for leadership. So this selection bias reflects a broader societal view that men are better suited for leadership position, even within, party structure. Like this one said, I have witnessed instances where young women were overlooked for leadership roles despite their capabilities. For example, during our last election for committee position, a qualified young woman was passed over for someone with more connections, which was disappointing. This highlights the need for structural changes within party, but also within political parties. For me, when I looked at this, it's also within political parties is politics. So it's about getting a position. How do you also do the politics within the political party? I think it's very critical, not just because one is more qualified, but other has a connection. But you need both qualification and connection, to be able to look at, to get something within parties. But I think generally, how it is being seen and perceived is that there is selection bias and then gender discrimination, despite the fact that there are opportunities also for upward movement. And there's also the education and qualification challenge. Education is a critical factor that influences political engagement and leadership potentials. In the Gambia, we've seen that women are also underrepresented when it comes to education, especially higher education. I mean, if you look at the statistics, you can see, from basic education, more women, but tertiary and all that, less women. And the fact that right now that is the trend. If you get more educated, there's a high likelihood that you might get more better paying jobs and all those different stuff. And if women in particular lack that, then that becomes a big challenge. So education and qualification are significant barriers for women in politics. Without the necessary education and awareness, it becomes difficult for women to engage effectively in political discussion or assume leadership roles, because the world is also changing, and I think these dynamics, are also realities that was presented to us. And there's this whole general question of sidelining of women and youth in decision making. And in this country, sometimes I feel like we have this problem of ageism. And ageism is respect the elders and leave the rest, nobody cares about them. And so those are things that are also found within political parties. It's not only political parties, but even in institutions you find it there, where they say, "Ki halela harals a time," or some things like that. And so those are things that are seen as barriers because, usually when it comes to decision-making, people are also sidelined. So many women and young people are eager to contribute, but they often feel sidelined in decision-making processes. We need to create more opportunities for them to voice their opinions and influence policies at that level. And the other issue is internalized gender norms and internalized reluctance among some women It's not only about what the society is saying, but something like we say, okay, the role of a woman is to sit in the kitchen, and and then that is internalized and accepted and made as a reality, instead of the fact that a woman should go to school, a woman should go on land, a woman should work, should do all the other things that people are doing just because they have to contribute in society. But some will take it and internalize it and make it their own, and that also disturbs them. And so even if they have the qualification, and today we have so many women educated, but they are not into politics. Why? It's so because to an extent they have internalized, what the environment is. So women in this country often focus on irrelevant things instead of uplifting each other. Moreover, people are more concerned about digging into one's background rather than focusing on their potential contribution. This reflects broader issues within our political culture as well. So what are the opportunities for political inclusion? Am I going fast or am I okay? Okay, so what are the opportunities for political inclusion? Mentorship and training programs. And this is what also we noticed, that in political parties, it might not be, like I said, we cannot generalize everything, but we just get, pointers to what exactly is happening. Maybe it might not be in all of the political parties, but it's also lessons that people from other political parties or parties that are not doing it can learn. Mentorship and training programs are increasingly recognized as essential tool for building the skills and confidence of women and youth in political spaces or in the political sphere. And one of the respondents said our party has mentorship programs and training workshops specifically designed for women and youth, aiming to empower them with leadership skills. This is crucial for building confidence and ensuring that they are ready to take more on significant roles in the future. How often it happens, whether it is systematic, whether it is consistent, I'm not sure, but respondents also noted in some of the instances that this is happening. So financial support initiative, this is also was highlighted that some parties, I think, are looking at this, especially when it comes to, contesting elections, where people could be provided some financial assistance within the parties to look at that. But of course, if this is coming in, then the main barrier that we highlighted in terms of the financial gaps, it means that it is not enough. So how do we ensure that financial inclusion is also critical in that. So another opportunity that we see is the exposure and travel opportunities. They say that this can also help expose youth, make them to see things, and and through that they'll be able to effectively participate in the political process as well. So there's also education and skills development programs similar to the mentorship that was also highlighted, that some parties are engaging in it. But skills development here, it seems like it is more of the soft skills of public speaking, of doing things that, can help improve, some of these things. But I'm happy at the end of the day, maybe we'll hear from them also, from these political parties, whether these findings align with what they understand, or whether it's in line with their own view as well. So there's also these structural reforms and increased inclusivity in party policies, and I think this is also there. Some emerging political parties are proactively adopting internal policies that mandate female participants in key roles, setting a new standard for inclusivity. And at some point, I was just saying that political parties have a form of coming along in terms of the narrative, and this was also very critical. So these structural reforms are designed to institutionalize women and youth role within the party, making it easier for them to participate in decision-making processes. And I think this is also where the issue of the youth wings and all those things are also critical. So I decided not to put any recommendation here, because we're going to have a panel, so that from there we can also combine these different studies that we have and have a very engaging conversation on that. Thank you for your attention, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Consultant.
But I'm going to focus on women's participation in politics when it comes to the barriers that are hindering them to participate in politics in the Gambia. So looking back to the first term of the president, and some of the scandals that happened in government concerning the male political leaders, from the Brikama Area Council to other political leaders who are men. And they are still in politics, they're still surviving, they're still moving on with their lives, because they are men. So imagine if a woman is in that shoe, wearing that crown, and also being part of such scandals. That will be the end of her career. That will be the end of her life as a woman in a marital house. And society will also shun that woman because of that scandal. So that is the power dynamic, the gap that women have when it comes to their political participation between them and their male counterparts. When I've seen in the report, it states that they are not emotionally tough. When it comes to they not being emotionally tough, we have seen that women who wants to go into politics, they are coming from homes. First of all, like Seth said, your family will be the first people to oppose you. Okay, I want to contest for the parliamentary election as a woman. And then your family will be like, we don't want, you know, we have secrets in this house. We have secrets in this household. We have secrets in this family. And the moment you are out there with your male counterparts, rubbing shoulders with them, telling them that you want to contest the same position with them, they will start to dig your past. Maybe I was, for example, I was born and brought up in Ibo Town, Joshua, and as a teenager, I was a lover of going to funeral, jumping from one funeral to another, or maybe I have 1 or 2 kids out of wedlock, and that is buried in the family. But Duruja here is my male counterpart, and their camp will make sure that they have to dig up all that dirt on me, to shame me, to make sure that I am cornered to an extent that I'm not going to move forward with my candidacy. And then if that is out there, the family's reputation is also on the line. And then the family will be like, this is what we were afraid of. This is why we said, you are not going to participate in this election. So as a woman in that situation, I am not going to come forward to say, okay, I am qualified to participate in this election, but I am not going to participate. It all goes down to patriarchy. This is the way society grooms us as boys and girls, growing up into men and women. This is how we are groomed by the society. We are followers. As girls, we are told we are followers. We are always in the kitchen. We are always doing chores while we are looking after our young brothers, grooming them as kings, people who are going to be our presidents in the future. These are people who are going to be our husbands. And also, when you look at the religious dimension, there was a time I have an interview with a religious leader during Jammeh's tenure, and then he was like, we agreed on many things concerning women's issues affecting women. But what we don't agree on is women taking up positions like ministerial positions and all that. And the guy was like, the religious leader was like, no, imagine a woman in a position. I cannot fathom that. I said, but what is the problem? If I am taking care of the household, I'm taking care of you as the man, I'm taking care of the family, I'm taking care of everybody, why can't I take care of the country?
Okay. Yeah. So, I want a follow-up question. Looking at these things happening as a media person, I know a lot has been reported, but do you think that the media is using the right approach towards reporting these things and also demystifying some of the public perceptions on these issues? If a religious leader is speaking that way, someone who is very influential, who can speak on a pulpit and influence hundreds of thousands of followers, what do you think the media should do in terms of, because even if you look at the media, the reports, they are using the male gaze mostly to portray politics. If you say politics, what comes to your mind first is Lawyer Dabo, Adama Barrow, Halifa Sallah. You understand that male perspective. What are we doing towards ensuring that this perception and narrative is changed as media professionals? Because we've seen the report.
Yes.
Yeah.
for us to have more women take up leadership positions, just like the last meeting we had at the Allah Parisian on the women's political participation, what I normally do as a journalist is that during activities leading up to election, women candidates are presented. First, MS, allow me to say that that patriarchy is what they have in their political parties. They don't even have women in leadership positions. If you want to interview a female executive member from the NPP party, for example, there are just few women that you will see. Maybe the ones at the National Assembly, is it Maimuna and Fatmata Jawara and the rest. Those are the people you will see. When you go to UDP too, it's the same thing. The only person that I know is Ajam Seka. Is it Seka? Ajam Seka. So the patriarchy is entrenched into the political parties. So, but what I normally suggest is that if activities leading to preparations for the selection of candidates within the political parties, they won't tell us. Because normally what they do is they present their candidates after the internal selection is done. And during that internal elections, you see that their women are aggrieved because they don't go through the right channel. They are just favoring men over them. You come out and say, okay, I want to stand. I'm also a party member. I'm a loyal party supporter. I want to stand for elections. They said, okay, for example, if I'm from Joshua, Duduja is from Joshua. He said, but Duduja is your brother. Allow Duduja to lead. Next time we will support you. So during those activities, if we are aware that, for example, NPP is selecting candidates, we need to follow it up to know how many female candidates within the NPP party that are interested in the same position and the constituencies they are coming from, so that we can also know the male candidates who are also vying for the same position. Look at their qualification. See what the problem is. If the woman is qualified, we need to engage the party executive to know why they are trying to tone down a female candidate or they are trying to favor a male candidate over a female candidate. Because at that stage, we can pressure them. We can mount pressure to an extent that maybe decisions can be changed. But if they already selected and we wait for them at the nomination is done, what can you change? And also, secondly, we have our radio programs. You have seen that many people are listening to radios. When you have live talk shows on days that are leading up to election, 2026 is coming. Let us have a discussion, a live phone discussion. We need to let the women know that if they want to contest elections, they will dig up their past. What they did to Rahim Malik Lowe, they will do more than that to any of them. They will dig up their past, they will lie against them, they will bully them, they will harass them, they will discriminate them. And let them know that this is part of politics. It's not just peculiar to them. So this is part of politics. This is a way to bully them into silence, into withdrawing their candidature. So that when we talk about these issues, women are listening. You'll be surprised at the amount of people who will be calling you during these talk shows. Also, the need for families to empower their women, to know that a woman is as good as a man in leadership position. During those talk shows, if we bring those human interest topics that are happening within the society into the media for discussions while we are preparing for election, then we are trying to capture the attention of women and young people to make sure that they come forward, challenge the existing systems that are happening within their political party, stand for women and young people to make sure that when they said, I want to contest elections, when they are qualified, they are not relegated to the corner because they want to favor an elderly guy from my village, Badibu, or they want to choose a man over a woman who is equally qualified for the position. I think that's a very powerful role we have there as media.
Thank you, Ali Matu. I think that was a very good insight. Thank you.
First and foremost, I would want to commend my co-panelist, Mr. Ali Matu. She did very well. And to all the participants, it's really very intriguing, it's very important. And the report reflects the realities that are on the ground. Being a member of the Inter-Party Committee, where all legally registered political parties always assemble to discuss politics and issues that affects us. When we talk about politics, it's general. First and foremost, what I would want to highlight is government has a very big role to play. What I mean by that, what is happening has been happening for years. And in order to combat it, in order to tackle these challenges, to make a headway, we need laws, we need policies that should be put in place. It would give women the opportunity, the advantage of equal opportunities and fair play. But just based on people trying to outline what is not right, we've been advocating for far too long. And in order for change to be effective, I think government has a role to play when it comes to creating policies, even though we have a ministry that is responsible for gender. But how much is being done to champion women being empowered? Now, when we talk about laws, the Independent Electoral Commission, which is the overseer of all political parties, she has highlighted when you come to party structures, yes, it is a challenge that women can't assume certain leadership roles when it comes to selection of candidates and the like. But through laws, hands would be tied and the opportunities would be availed to women so that they will have that playing level field. Society, again, we are a religious people, be it Muslims and Christians, and it affects what we do in our daily lives. That has been a challenge. We are a society that have customs and traditions that are embedded in us. And in most cases, women has to play a second fiddle. Men always has the advantage. But how do we overturn this? Society, it's wide. People have different dimensions when it comes to what they believe, what they adhere to. There are many, many examples of women in leadership. They did actually very well, not even outside the country, but within. We need to celebrate them. We need to discuss and talk about them. For far too long, women have man positions in this country, and she highlighted, you don't hear them being accused for corruptions or other scandals. So these are issues we need to champion, to know that women have been there before. What we need is to increase the number. I, for what, always say the 5 female parliamentarians we have, all of them are very vocal. They participate and they stand for their constitution and talk their constituencies and talk about issues that affect people. We have male parliamentarians that people don't even hear their names. They don't even stand in parliament to make any comments and give any meaningful participation when it comes to debates, etc. What this shows is women can do better. I think this type of slogan should be pushed, and the realities are there on the ground. Now, this will help to create and give a different perspective when it comes to society, what people believe and how they have to engage. But what is far more important is self-belief, self-esteem. Women need to have that. It must begin with you. Now, when we need or we want to assume these positions or we want to be in this position, first, you need to aspire. The zeal must be there that I want to or I have to. It must begin with you. When people push you and you're not ready, it becomes a problem. And that's the challenge most women have. You keep pushing them, they are not willing to take that leadership role or that mantle. Now, that aspire should be there. You must aspire. When you aspire, then you have to inspire. Inspire others. You must prove to them that I can do it. This comes to their track record where you reference to women who've been in position for far too long. You as a woman, you must make people believe that you can do better. Women are builders. When it comes to our homes, women build societies, they build homes, they build families. So those are more hectic responsibilities, if you ask me, compared to managing certain institutions. The records are there. They speak for themselves. They've been doing it. The thing is, when they aspire now, they need to inspire. And these are all advantages whereby they can prove themselves. Then comes the ultimate goal of participating or contesting. You will be able to move people and give them track record of being females or women, what they can do better. Society will continue to be a problem, but unless and until women take that responsibility of we're not going to leave it in the hands of men, we are going to challenge them. It will create a level playing field. She highlighted about media, which is very, very crucial. Media can either make you or break you. The negative odds will come. People will try to bring you down. But what do you do to lift yourself up? There are a lot of people, even if the media invites you, you want to shy away, you want to hide. Whatever it's been levied against you, especially when it's negative, the media is an opportunity for you to clarify, for you to give a different perspective that these odds are not the reality, but I am this, I am that. That's why you can clarify. People will always try to pull you down. That is natural. Not only female, but even men, they go through it. Now, it's a platform that a lot of people don't make good use of when it comes to media. We spend it in trying to rather portray an image, the way you look, the photos, the videos, but what you really want, what can you do, what can you deliver, how many? You see them, yes, on their status, on Facebook, etc., trying to prove a point that this is who I am really am. But instead, it's all about looks. Even for us men, it happens. That's what we portray most. How many of us do write, on social media platforms about ourselves, our aspirations, things we want, things that we desire to do? This would reflect, and people can always go back and say, okay, the brilliance is there. They will be able to judge from that angle. This part of media, it's how we have to make music, that is PR. It's very, very important when we go to those lengths.
So a quick one with the recommendations. One few months ago, we've seen IEC sent a dispatch for political parties to hold their congresses. And we know what they normally say is the Congress is just to formalize it, but the executive has already been selected. It's just a hand-pick and a formalized, normalized thing that has been there for so long. Do you think it could be a better platform to make these reforms? And how can the IPC play a role in ensuring that congresses are not just there to pick people, but however is there to ensure that these gaps are addressed, like the women issues? And another thing is, we know the 2024 draft is coming, and it's an opportunity, because we will talk about this if still we do not have the relevant laws to close these gaps. Even in the UK, in other countries, they still have these challenges where political parties will you have the quota system, but they would prefer paying the fines rather than putting women there. It is there. We've seen America, the US, obviously, where you have a women candidate and people prefer.
As far as the IPC is concerned, our slogan always says Gambia first. We always look at the national interest. That is why you would see 19 political parties seated together, and it's always difficult to know who belongs where, unless you know the person, or even like party colors and party symbols are not allowed when it comes to IPC. We always leave it behind. We are not that institutionalized in order to impose on political parties when it comes to their policies and programs. And again, comes into policies and laws whereby the IEC, like you said, they've sent a dispatch reminding and guiding political parties what needs to be done. I think the solution could be, the overseer is the Independent Electoral Commission. But for instance, I always say we don't have internal democracy when it comes to party level. Once you form a political party, the leader heading it continues to be the leader of the party. This, to the best of my knowledge, is what happens in this country. Not for once do leaders step aside and say, I would serve 2 terms and allow somebody else. And this can only be achieved when it becomes a law. In the Electoral Act, I think it needs to be embedded. And it will give opportunity for women to have access to leadership. If the leader is changeable, then women can step forward and say, I also want that position. But if the leader is cemented, nothing is going to change. When will women have the opportunity to challenge for that leadership? And it is only laws that can regulate that. Besides which, you leave it to political parties on their own, they're not going to touch that domain. Laws could come, not only quota system. For instance, we could have laws whereby Congress should be well defined. It becomes vague. This is why we go to Congress, we don't elect or contest for these positions, because even the law is silent about it. It should have been more descriptive. When you go to Congress, what is required by law should have been stated, then political parties would adhere to that. But that is also not happening. For instance, if they said in every political party, when it comes to their national executive or central executive committee, 40% should be women. This would give women the opportunity. Even they wouldn't need anybody to push them from behind. If the opportunity is there, they will take ownership of it and they will be able to challenge. In order to excel in this, we need to look at our laws. And that will bring me to the 2024 draft that you are mentioning. In most cases, we make laws for country. It's not for individuals or certain targeted groups. Unfortunately, it has reflected, in the draft constitution from 2020 to date. It is definitely affecting us. Now, when we look at the greater good, the national interest, all these laws should have been featured, especially when it comes to how political parties are managed. Even the opposition, we say they are government in waiting. They're not there today. Tomorrow, they could be there. So you need to prepare them very well so that any time that they have the opportunity to take that lead, the laws have guided them and they will be able to implement. But it is very unfortunate that when you look into our laws deep, it's not highlighting, it's not referencing, it is not giving us clear indications how it has to be conducted. Congresses are more of crowds gathering together, celebrating and creating the ambience, and we disperse and go home. That's all. There are, in certain instances, even the party leader has that prerogative to select an entire executive committee, whereby others can influence. This is why we have political parties that are in existence in this country. They don't have even regional structures. They don't even have a proper executive committee, because the law is not defining, and who monitors and supervise that as political parties they have to do the needful. It is not embedded. And the 2024 draft should have captured all this, and it will take us to another level.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think Dudu has made very tangible recommend finally, because the time, so that we can allow maybe one or two interventions before we wrap up. So, Alimatu.
Yes, giving platform to candidates. I know that we are all from the same society, and we are all grouped with the same issues.
Have our biases.
Yes, we also have our biases. So, but what we can do is that Duduja is famous because of you people. You give him the platform.
Absolutely.
You can equally make a female candidate as famous or even more famous than Duduja with the same platform. So we should try to restrain ourselves when it comes to our personal biases as journalists. We put it aside and focus on, like he said, the country. When it comes to politics and election matters, the country is what is important. Being male or female is not the issue. If we have female candidates, let's follow them. Don't just say that, okay, female journalists will do that. We know that most of you, in your newsrooms, you are the ones who are empowered to cover political issues because you are men. Your editors are men. So maybe the female are not given that opportunity, even if we have female journalists. If they are not freelancers, they cannot do it. But you are a man, and it is time for politics. We have both male and female candidates. Follow the female candidates equally like you follow the male candidates. You don't agree with me, no problem. So,
it's okay. You
so,
can disagree.
yes, you can disagree with me. Like I said, I have said that I am biased already.
They're hitting back.
Yes, I have said that I am biased already when I started my topic. So you can disagree with me. I'm not saying that you are not following the female candidates, or even us. I wanted to look for a female expert always, but they are not available. Those are challenges also that we face. But those who are willing to talk to you, even if they cannot express themselves in English, but if you also have local programs where you speak in local languages, invite them and you will see how they will be able to express themselves to the audiences that they are looking for. So I think that's the recommendation that I would like to share with you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Three parties, I would say, that really we hope can make the landscape of women in the media and parties in the diaspora. These are the people that make decisions. But in someone to win is two, is the local two and the media. No, the number of times or the way the media portray you is how some people will decide. We have many people in this country, they are undesirable. They don't have any candidate. But they're just waiting for social media to portray you, read over you, and then decide for you. You answer, no, I don't belong to any political party. But media play a very, very crucial role in electing a candidate. The other one is political parties and IEC are the one that hinder all these barriers. Because we don't have laws. Like a female is very, very different from me. If you want to say a female, in order you to buy for a person, you must resign for a year. For 1 year you resign, no salary, and you want to contest the person. That alone is a barrier. How many women will want to do that? But men will want to sacrifice because they can rubber some other places. And these are things that women cannot do. If